Let's do it.
I'm Robin.
Imagine going on the biggest documentary you've ever taken on, only to find yourself fighting heat, broken gear, and relentless time pressure. What would you do if everything that you've planned for completely unravels? So the drone was confiscated, yet you have to tell the story.
I just need to get the camera out and just shoot everything.
How is the coffee?
Coffee's good, as it always is in Mohammed.
You just told me that it's your first time in Africa.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you.
This is the behind-the-scenes story of how we made this documentary happen.
Mother Nature just called.
And what I learned about filmmaking, resilience, and about myself. I'm making 100 documentaries about people who are creating a positive impact in the world. This time, it landed me in Uganda to explore how coffee, when grown in the right way, can change lives. And what I found there, it completely shifted how I see the world. This story actually begins with a cup of coffee. It's late spring, but a very rainy day in Stockholm, and I'm sitting down with Johan, the co-founder of a Swedish coffee company that has decided to do things a bit differently. Over that coffee, he starts explaining how they work directly with coffee farmers to help them grow higher quality coffee while also earning more for their work. I felt it so clearly in my stomach that I need to make a film about this. But I said to him, we can't do it from here. It has to be done in the field, which I thought would be the end of the whole thing. But a few weeks later, he sends me a message asking if I want to go to Uganda with his co-founder Lars, who is actually the real coffee nerd of this company.
Yeah, well, my name is Lars Hilengrim, and I'm one of the co-founders of Lycke Kaffegårdar, or Lycke Coffee Farms.
Okay, Uganda, an African country I had barely heard of before this. I developed a feeling that's a mix between terrified and excited. So of course I say yes. Isak and I got our visas sorted, packed all the bags, and we were on our way.
Just landed in Entebbe.
I'm finally off this plane after 12 hours and a stop in Rwanda, Kigali. What would it be like to film there? Would we be able to capture the story that I envisioned? Would I even be able to pull this off? This is so much bigger than anything I've done before. More shooting days, first time in Africa, super complex story to tell. To be honest, the stress had been building up all summer. There were so many decisions to make. What gear to bring? How do we pack everything that we need for a documentary into our hand luggage and 2 suitcases? I went back and forth over which camera to use. The Red Komodo, which I worried would produce files that are too big to handle in the field, or the Canon R5, which is a strong contender but overheated, has its infamous overheating problem. In the end, I landed on the Canon C70.
We prepped the Canon C70 as the main camera for the dock.
It's a more robust, everything in one package solution that I felt like it could handle all the conditions that we would put it through.
Och så går jag väldigt långsamt också.
Yes, we can work.
But still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking completely into the unknown. First thing that happens after landing is that the luggage is being x-rayed on the way into the country. An officer asks, is there a drone in there? Without a pre-registered permit, the drone is confiscated and stored for the rest of the trip. This just feels so sad. I had imagined up so many cinematic aerial shots of amazing landscapes, and now they were gone. In filmmaking, it's all about adapting. So we shake it off, we grab a taxi, and we head out to our hotel in Entebbe.
And we arrived here in Entebbe really late last night. We couldn't see anything because it was dark outside. And now we woke up this morning to this beautiful day. And we've been sitting here at the breakfast table, prepping all the gear. We also met up with Theo,
a local filmmaker who reached out online when he heard about our project. It's so nice to finally get to meet him in person, and he is super excited about the project.
Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, like, man. It's a dream come true, like.
He's gonna join us during this week and help us out on this project, and I'm so excited about it.
Meeting him is like seeing a reflection of my younger self. A filmmaker driven to tell stories, doing whatever it takes with limited resources. I can see from the start that Deo's presence would change everything for us. And he shows off his skills immediately.
Thank you for that.
By bringing a drone he managed to rent with only a couple of hours notice.
And now we're heading to the mountains. Hopefully we'll see some amazing views on the way.
We got the gear, we got everything, so I think we're ready to hit it.
So with Deo now part of the crew, we load up all the bags and ourselves into this massive Land Cruiser.
This is our ride. I like it already.
And we begin the 8-hour drive to Fort Portal.
It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
I probably should sit as far in the front as possible because I get car sick.
Yeah.
So if you don't...
But what road shall we come?
This is Dancing Road.
Sample.
It's a sample, it's a pre-snack of a dancing road.
It was a bumpy ride, and I can't help but notice how every hotel, gas station and shop along the way are guarded by people carrying massive guns. In Sweden, we don't see weapons anywhere except maybe on a police officer, so it's a culture shock for sure.
So we've been driving now for about 4 hours and we're on our way to Fort Portal still. The roads are a bit bumpy, but it's a good car. It's amazing that it holds up on these roads. I'm just taking in all the scenery. There is so many things to look at. And then I stopped to fly the drone and a bunch of kids came up, but they looked at the image like when they controlled the flying drone like it was some kind of magic. And it's so cool to see that.
By the time we arrive, exhausted from these 2 full days of travel, I'm already bracing myself for what lies ahead. We know this is gonna be tough, but we didn't know just how much Uganda would push us and surprise us at every turn. On the first day of production, we have a tight schedule and we're driving out to the washing station, which is about 1.5 hours drive from Fort Portal.
Good morning! Good morning!
Det är så läckert.
Exakt, väldigt naturlig pose.
Life as a filmmaker, right?
How was it?
I don't know.
This is our base for the week. As we begin setting up, it becomes clear that nothing about this was going to be simple. When we arrived, I think we were still a bit tired from all the traveling the day before because we had to spend maybe an hour just getting the camera kit in order.
We are switching out some batteries and charging some batteries, putting the microphones out, and you probably... Does this come in now? Do you hear me?
Oh, this mic goes here and this lens on this camera here. Where is the battery for this? All the things that we had prepared.
Oh, is that the shortest?
There were filters everywhere and tripods everywhere.
I have XLR, but it's the wrong side.
I got it.
We were kind of confused, I think.
Har den på bröstkorgen på dig? Om det känns okej.
Som en polisrackare.
And the humidity
Oh,
at the
exactly.
same time hits us like a wall.
Yeah.
It was like filming in a frying pan, and the heat isn't just uncomfortable, it makes every movement slower, every decision harder. If you've been in the middle of filming, you know how it is. You pushed through, you're so focused on capturing the shot.
And what's important for the farm? I'm looking for the knowledge part here.
But the second that you stop, the exhaustion crashes down on you like a hammer. Boom. We get a quick tour of the washing station just to understand how everything works.
When trucks come in with coffee, they offload here. Yeah, so this is our receiving area.
This is where the coffee from some 1,200 farmers in the region is processed. And yeah, we also have the freshest cup of coffee possible. So Lars and his team, they have been sorting it, helping it, and they have been sorting it again and then roasting it. It's a long process to get the cup of coffee around here.
Yeah, we started from scratch.
This is coffee from scratch. The smell is incredible. When the roasting started, the whole room just filled with this chocolatey sweet smell.
Yeah.
Homemade. This.
It was nice. Then we go out to meet some of the farmers. And as we step out of the car, people start gathering around, curious about the cameras. It's hard to keep the frame clear because kids run in, families are stopping to watch, and it was chaos. Beautiful chaos, but chaos nonetheless.
Look at this, we created an audience. We have all these people that are surrounding us, eager to see what we're filming.
And by the time that we return to the washing station, we are completely drained. The sun, the humidity, the endless movement, it all adds up. I don't think anything could have prepared me for how demanding it would be to work in these conditions. Since we're smack on the equator, the sun is always right on top of us. And it's burning so hot, and there are no shadows, very bright and kind of boring. And then I took out the drone. I pressed record on the drone and it was like pressing play on the kids. They basically rested me down on the floor to watch what I was doing. I was squatting on the ground and I just couldn't breathe because there were so many kids around me. It just looked like a turtle of kids. That night, as I lie in bed, I think about the day. The visuals are stunning. The stories are starting to shape, but I was already wondering, how are we going to keep this up for a whole week? The second day hits us harder than the first, and it's not just because of the heat. We start to realize just how much time we are losing to transportation. Hours in the car every day, bouncing over roads that are more potholes than pavement.
Wow. Det är ett fantastiskt land, eller hur?
Det är så coolt. By the time we reach our filming locations, it's like half the day is already gone. This is documentary, TID.
What is the idea for?
It's a spin-off of TIA, which I learned from you. This is Africa. I don't think we have had any real This is Africa moments yet. And then things start going wrong. It begins with the gear. The Canon R5, which we're using as a B cam and for stills, it decided, like, I've had enough. The screen fills up with red lines and the sensor is completely fried. From one shot to the next, it's now rendered completely useless. This was a huge blow. I had debated for months over which cameras to bring, and now one of our key tools was out of commission. It's not the end of the world, since we had brought a second Sony a7 IV that we could just slot in instead. But I'm very thankful that I didn't choose to go with the R5 as the main camera, because then we'd been fucked. Somewhere around here is also the moment where I realized that this idea of cinematic, well-planned shots was slipping further away. I had imagined us pulling over for perfectly framed sequences with the mountains in the background, but time just wasn't on our side. It's really painful to drive through this incredible landscape, seeing all the angles and visuals rolling by through the window, knowing that I can't stop to grab it. Because every stop, every adjustment eats into the precious hours of daylight that we need for the actual story parts. So we have no choice but to shift into a run and gun mindset, capturing the story as it unfolded, even if that wasn't exactly how I'd pictured it. But I mean, there's a limit to what you can do with a 3-person team, so you have to accept that. But in moments like that, you start to wondering, is the story still coming through? Are we capturing the heart of it, or are we losing to all these little setbacks? I'm scared of trees.
I very nearly crashed and thrown into a tree earlier today.
But for every time that we press record, even if the conditions aren't ideal, the feeling grows in me that this chaos might actually be the story.
Kind of warm.
Yeah.
Look at my haircut is doing very well in this.
When I'm filming the interviews, I'm like holding it, and I feel the drops are just.
Almost into the
Yeah, there's
I focus on the frame.
Yeah, there's two parts of it. You feel the sweat running down here, and then you feel insects on your legs, and you still have to hold the shot.
I felt
That's
that
really
as well.
hard.
Yeah.
Morning.
How's it going? Slept well?
There was a party going on here
Yeah.
5 a.m.
I've heard about it.
Wow.
Good morning, Uganda.
I can see that the sky is waking up. I'm not. And I have no contacts in my eyes, so I'm gonna fly the drone blind.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Can I? So.
Yeah, I don't have more details than that. We were supposed to meet Hansel.
It's during one of our early mornings that I get to know Theo better. Sitting in the back of the Land Cruiser on yet another bumpy ride, he begins sharing about his journey as a filmmaker in Uganda.
I would like culture stories, anything to do with the culture, because we have a rich culture in Uganda that the world does not know about, you know?
He tells me that he has to rent equipment for every job because he doesn't have the equipment that he needs. And the clients that he's working for can't always afford to pay for it. His dream is to tell the untold stories of Uganda, the ones that challenge this narrative of chaos and struggle that we often get portrayed in the media. He wants to show the strengths and the resilience and joy of his people, but at the moment the barriers are just too big.
Can everybody scream that on 3?
Hi, I'm in Kasese with my homies, my teammates.
One story that he shares with me really sticks. When his wife was pregnant with their first child, they wanted to ensure that she could give birth safely in the hospital.
So I had a Canon 5D Mark III that I thought about. I realized that I had to put up a budget for the money because we wanted to pay for the hospital bills because the months were coming close. So I decided to do a door-to-door photography, kind of a campaign of myself so that I can raise the money that was around $120 for her to deliver in a good hospital.
To raise that money, Theo went door to door, offering to take portraits. He calls this the 1,000 Portraits Project.
So I had to move around with my camera in my community. And people could call me, cameraman, take us pictures. Yeah, I could do it because all I wanted was the money. And I raised the money and we gave birth to our first child, who is Abigail. Now she's 3 years.
Amazing.
That story hit me like a punch to the gut. It's so powerful and it really shows how things are like here. Here's someone who shares my passion for storytelling but faces challenges that I can't even imagine.
For example, if you don't have a tripod, you look at how to survive with a shot without a tripod. You don't get the best, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that all comes down to the financial situation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This story makes that very relatable for me and gives me a new perspective on our whole project.
So most people will always say gear as the challenge, but me, I don't always put it as number one because I know, everything can work. But I'm so grateful because we are surviving and we are able to deliver what we can.
You're doing amazing work, man.
I can now see parallels from Theo's reality and the farmers that we're meeting, navigating this system that always seems stacked up against them. I wasn't just hearing about their challenges now, I was feeling them. And that is kind of important, I think. When going out to meet the farmers, I have no idea what to expect. But all the farms feels very alive. The farmers themselves, They are proud. It's not just a job for them, it's their legacy.
Some of my children are in school. They are in Kampala. They are studying. It's very important. That's why I planted coffee.
Kampala is an 8-hour drive away from his house. He grows coffee to pay for the school fees, knowing it's their best chance at a better life. It made me think of my own work, how I'm really proud of what I create, but the constant hustle to fund the next project is sometimes exhausting. But for him, it's not about funding a dream. It's about providing basic opportunities for his kids. And that made my problems feel kind of small in comparison.
We went for Lunar as our operating name here in Uganda.
All around us here, there is this energy.
More people in action and doing things, like the weighing of the coffee.
This happiness that feels so different from back home.
Slowly.
If not having so many distractions from technology and screens and things like that, make everyone be much more present in the moment. People here seem connected to what they're doing, to their families and to the land.
So delivery would be perfect, and someone driving off with on a motorbike, that would also be fantastic to get off.
Filming here though, it isn't easy. Every time we frame up a shot, someone wanders into the frame, kids running through, people stopping to watch in front of the cameras. At first, it's frustrating. Then I remind myself again, okay, this is what the story is. These spontaneous moments, the life happening all around us, it's what makes this real. These farmers aren't just the subjects of a documentary. They are the whole reason the story exists. And even if we can capture only a tiny piece of that, it's all gonna be worth it. Since these documentaries are about a person, they're based on interviews.
I just went head on into coffee, and that has literally been my life since, and will probably forever be my life.
So naturally, the interview with Lars, the main character of this film, is kind of crucial for the film. And I like to wait to do the interview as late in the filming process as possible. That gives me time to get to know the person and understand how they are going to bring the story to life. So on the second to last day of filming, we decide it's time to make it happen in the afternoon.
Right now we're looking at the place where we're going to set up the main interview with Lars. And I think we have found the perfect spot.
This stunning view, and we figure out how to use the very limited lighting gear that we could bring with us, in combination with the beautiful natural light to make it look good.
And we're going to use that building, and we're going to hang the black cloth on that one to get a good shadow side. And then the sun is going to set. So you see it's going to come down behind that tree at 6 o'clock. So at 5 o'clock when we plan to start the interview, it's going to be here.
So amazing how this all technology works.
I love this. This is so useful.
Yeah, okay.
This is the Sunseeker app, not sponsored.
They should sponsor this.
They should sponsor this. The sun is setting over the mountains at 7 o'clock. So before that, we have to be finished, because then we lose all the light.
TIA. This is Africa. As with everything else on this trip, things didn't go exactly as planned. So we have some time to kill before the lighting conditions are right for the interview. So we decide to visit some more farmers. What no one mentions here is that they live much higher up in the mountains, much farther away than I expected. The plan is to begin filming the interview at 4 p.m. But by that time, when we are still hurrying back from the mountains, TIA keeps running through my head.
As soon as we unfolded the first tripod, the winds just started going crazy. A pile of trash started blowing on us, complete madness, and probably it's gonna rain soon. And the toilet door behind us just blows open. You can have a plan, and then you get punched in the face, and that's the story everywhere. But in Uganda, it's just more prominent than anywhere else.
I had never heard of the phrase "this is Africa" before, but this trip painted a very vivid image of what it means.
This one's gonna fall over as soon as the wind hits. But The bouncer is gonna fall over even soon. It's the only thing you can do, right?
It's not just a saying, it's like a mindset. Embracing the unpredictable, the chaotic, and sometimes the downright maddening aspects of working here. Plans will change, equipment will fail, and schedules will go way out the window. You just have to roll with it.
I see a red light.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
My plan to have a lot of time for the interview, setting it up nicely and creating a calm space for deep conversation gets completely lost. We are frantically setting up gear. The C70 was sitting on the small travel tripod that we brought. We didn't have a tripod for the second camera that was doing the second angle, so we put it on the sack, which is basically a beanbag for your camera. And we placed this thing on a suitcase to get it up high enough. When you have all your gear with you, you can always use the proper thing for each moment and each thing that you're doing. But when traveling like this, it forces you to get creative, which is actually much more fun in a way. And it looked good. But as time passes, we have thunder, we have rain, and we have wind. When the natural light fades out and our light panel starts looking harsher and harsher in Lars's face by the minute, we decide it's time to stop and pick it up again tomorrow.
If I can interrupt, I guess the light is pretty dark and pretty harsh. So
Let's continue tomorrow.
We continue tomorrow.
It's a good thing that I didn't wait until the final day for this.
En klapp framför ditt ansikte. Perfect.
On the last day of filming, we complete the interview using a different location but a similar setup.
And then I think that touches the challenge of telling those stories, and it's part of why we're here now, right? Reckon.
Luckily, there are some clouds in the sky on this day, which makes it possible to sit out in the open without the sun that's too harsh. Because you don't want that. And then there is one more scene that we need to have, and that's a big delivery of coffee cherry to the washing station. It's supposed to arrive in a truck during the afternoon. We set up a shot where we can follow it like all the way, and then we wait and wait. TIA. When the truck finally arrives, it's pitch dark outside and we can only see the headlights, nothing else. The coffee gets delivered and the processing starts immediately. We ignore all ambitions on good light, we crank up the ISO and we start documenting it. And it looks pretty good for what it is, raw, unplanned and real. And then the pulping machine breaks down. And we sort of give up. Okay, that's it.
It's done.
So Lars, what happened here?
So we lost one of the motors, so it's we can't pulp.
I'm so exhausted after this full week, and this setback just makes me go sit in the car and wait for the others to go home. Isak joins me in the car for a moment, but then we hear the machine starting again. I'm just too tired to start filming again, but Isak manages to find some energy and he gets up and he goes off and films this too, which is so good because in the end this scene turned out to be one of the most beautiful. So sometimes just find that energy even if it's not there at all. This trip to Uganda has been an experience of a lifetime. It opened up so many thoughts about the normalness of my life and all the things that I take for granted. Seeing how people live and operate under circumstances that would be considered completely unacceptable in Sweden made me rethink so much, and yet somehow it works. It's imperfect, chaotic and full of challenges, but there's a resilience and beauty to it that I'll probably carry with me forever.
Thank you for joining us this week.
Yeah, it has been amazing, and thank you for coming to tell this beautiful story.
Yeah.
You saw it yourself, the people are being supported.
This is not the last time I'm doing filming in Eastern Africa. I need to go back.
Now, getting into this flight to go to Kenya, then Paris, and then Stockholm. My brain tells me now to just stare at a blank wall or a gray wall, but that's even more boring, for 24 hours, just to be able to process all of these impressions. Because overload is total.
Coming back from Uganda, I'm thinking, okay, good, now the hardest part of the project is behind us. I couldn't be more wrong. Post-productioning this is like trying to piece together a giant puzzle, except you're not sure if all the pieces are even there or what's on the pieces. The first challenge is the complexity of the story. There are so many layers to it. The farmers' lives, the coffee production process, and the broader message about sustainability and climate change. Figuring out how to structure it all in a way that makes sense and doesn't overwhelm the audience. It felt completely impossible in the beginning. And on top of that, I was completely drained. The trip had taken so much out of me, physically, but mostly emotionally. Creativity, energy, it was nowhere to be found. You think it's gonna be okay?
Yeah.
Isaac was pushing hard, working the material. Then I finally pulled myself back and started watching the footage. The farmers showing off their crops and kids playing in the field and Deo sharing his dreams. It reminded me again why I started this project in the first place. So bit by bit, I started finding the story within the chaos. Sitting together, both of us, where one could think and the other could think and push the buttons in the editing. This brought some sort of accountability that steered us away from all the distractions that would otherwise grab hold of us. So section by section, the film was being constructed. And then, 3 days before the release, I decided to overhaul a huge part of the structure. And it was a risky move, but I felt it was necessary to make the film as strong as it could be. We worked together around the clock for the last days to pull it off. And somehow we made it, exporting the final version just 3 hours before the release.
Jag tror att det jag inte fattade det är att det är väldigt mycket människor inblandade. Alltså, det är klart att man förstår att det behövs människor, men jag hade inte tänkt så långt.
Storytelling isn't just about capturing beautiful shots and powerful moments. It's about finding the thread that connects it all, the heart that makes people care. And while the editing process was grueling, it also reminded me why I do this work. So what did I learn from this whole thing? First, that stories can be more powerful than I ever imagined. Watching this film come together, I realized how much of an impact storytelling can have, not just on the audience, but on me as the creator. Second, that resilience is everything, whether it was adapting to the challenges in Uganda or pushing through exhaustion in post-production. This project showed me what's possible. You just have to stay away from giving up, basically. But most of all, it taught me how much there is to learn from the people who are often overlooked. Their lives, their struggles and their hopes, it's all there, waiting to be shared. And while this documentary only scratches the surface of it, I hope it inspires you to dig deeper, to ask questions and to look at the world from a different angle. This project is part of my 100 documentary journey, and it reminds me exactly why I started this mission. It's not just about the films, it's about the people. Part of my purpose here is getting Deo off the ground as a creator in Uganda. He's an incredible filmmaker with a passion for telling the untold stories of Uganda, but he needs the right tools to make it happen. In Uganda, it's super difficult to get a proper camera and the cost is probably twice what it should be. So what we've done is we've set up a fundraiser to help Deo get a proper camera and equipment. I think we can pull this off together. So if this story resonates with you, consider supporting Deo's work. All the details are here down below, and I'll personally match any donations. Finally, and this is the finally, I hope this inspires you to look at your own life and ask, what stories am I missing? Whether it's the coffee in your cup or the people in your community, there's always more to learn. So let's keep telling these stories together.
So hungry.
So we've done a lot of things today.
Yeah.